Good evening, everybody, and welcome to So You Got a Gun. I'm Alex. I'm here with my co-host Matt, and we're going to be dealing with the subject of home safety this afternoon. I hope you guys stick around. We're going to have a pretty good show for you. First thing we're going to be talking about in this show is inside the home safety. There's a couple things that we want to go over that kind of relate to this subject. One we're going to be dealing with is one of the most common, I don't know, it was a viral thing that went around YouTube for a while, but it's a simple one. It's taking long drywall screws and putting them in the strike plates of your doors. And that's a pretty good one. It makes them very, very hard to break out of the strike plate using a longer set of screws. So there's the first little safety tip we have for inside the home safety. Matt, you got anything for inside the home stuff?
Oh, yeah, a bunch of stuff. I like the long screw thing in the strike plates. I also do the hinges if I can, and then in the frame as well. I mean, everything all the way around, because those are all real short screws, typically, pine frames and door, for door frames and stuff. So it's real soft wood, and it's really easy to kick those open. And really, the weak point for a door isn't where the door handle is. It's the hinges. So putting in longer screws there so they go through the door frame and then into the into the frame of the house.
Like subframing of the door.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are not contractors.
No, I've built a house, but no, not my thing.
Oh, see, I fixed a house once.
Oh yeah, no, two different things. Yeah. Well, let's see. I want to move on to let's talk about being very familiar with your house. It is your house, right? So you should be able to walk through the house, your house in the dark. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a flashlight, not saying you shouldn't bring a flashlight, just saying you should be able to navigate your own home in the dark. You should know where the things are at that are going to, you're going to stub your toe on this. These boards are going to creak in the floor over here. So knowing the layout of your home, getting very familiar with it, especially in the dark, and then knowing where you can safely, if you have to use your firearm in self-defense, where in your home can you be, and then where do you have to be aiming in order to be able to have good shots, to where if you miss or if they pass through your target, that they're not going to end up maybe in your child's bedroom where they're sleeping or exiting the house. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I look at it like this. I kind of scenario it a little bit. I'll start off laying in my bed, and I get up and I think to myself, okay, where would the threat be coming from where I'm at right now? So laying in bed, they'd be coming through the door. Now, if I open fire towards the door, what is on the other side of that door? Is it going into another room? What's the next thing over? For some of the apartment dwellers that are listening, or the city dwellers where there's a lot of houses stacked on top of each other, try to keep that in mind. Your rounds may be going into someone else's home. That's what's on the other side of that drywall. So yeah, keep that in mind when you're doing that. And I do that throughout the entire house. If I'm in my living room, if I'm in my dining room, where are the lanes that I can know that I can shoot this direction, I can shoot that direction, and get away with knowing what's beyond that shot. The last thing you want is to take a bad guy out, but then take your friend or your wife or your neighbor out because of overpenetration. So it's a good thing to know. The other thing I wanted to point out was the importance of making sure that you encourage your children, for those of us who have children, to try to keep their large items up off the floor, or at least in walkways. That's one of the things that would really cause it to stumble around quite a bit, is walking into a living room and all of a sudden there being a Lego play set in the middle of the floor that you weren't aware of there before, and you were walking on the death of the Lego play sets, because those things hurt like crazy.
Yeah.
So just sort of food for thought.
Yeah, absolutely. one of my boys got a skateboard for Christmas, and I've had to have that talk a couple of times already. Like, can't leave it at the bottom of the stairs, Holmes. Sorry. We're not doing this.
Be one hell of a ride.
Oh, man. Not good.
Is that a bad guy?
It'd be fun. You know, it probably wouldn't be so bad if it was on carpet, but on our main floor, it's all hardwood. So it rolls. It rolls.
For a ride.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, identifying in your house where you can responsibly protect yourself and everybody else. I mean, I think that's really cut and dry way to wrap that part of it up. What do you think?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I think so. So the next section we're going to go over that we think is pretty important for inside the house is dealing with calling 911 and how to do that. Because there are some pretty important things that you need to know when you're trying to dial 911. The first one that comes to mind for me is that all modern cell phones, regardless of whether or not they have they're activated 911, as long as they're plugged in or they have charge. Obviously, they have to be able to turn on and work. And what I have done in my bedroom is I have taken an old cell phone, I plugged it in the wall, and I stuck it next to my nightstand, and it stays there. Just the phone will dial 911 as long as it's got battery charge. That applies to everything from 2000 and up, I believe.
Okay. I'm not really sure how far back that goes. I didn't realize it went back that far, so that's cool. I mean, everybody's got an extra cell phone or two laying around. Sure. If all you have to do is leave it in the bedroom or on a nightstand, that's a pretty good deal, right?
Yeah. You know? Everybody's got an old Nokia. Face it.
Well, something about using.
Everyone's got one.
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely. But when you call 911, it's not like it was 20 years ago when they could pinpoint exactly where you are and know your address. Now it's cell phones and there's pinging off towers all over the place, you know. So when you call 911, you dial 9-1 and then you hit 1 the second time. That has started a recording. So as soon as somebody answers, the first thing out of your mouth should be, "This is my address. You know, I'm at 1234 Main Street in whatever part, you know, wherever you're at." But just in case anything happens, your phone gets swatted out of your hand, you're running around like, you know, freaking out, and you drop in the toilet. Who knows? I have no idea. But knowing that 911 at least has your address is extraordinarily important. And then after that, you can get into the more information.
The details of the situation.
Right. Go ahead. You talk about that.
Yeah, so applying details to the situation. I've done a few ride-alongs. I don't know if this is true in all, but in the couple of ride-alongs that I've been, when we responded to a 911 call, the call goes out, the officer says responding, and that's pretty much the limit of the information that's given. It's pretty generic. It's just like, okay, hey, we have a domestic dispute at this address. Cop says responding. Cop drives to location, does his job. So there's not a whole lot of information being transferred between the cop and 911. Very specific that the 911 officer feels needs to be given to the responding officer. In my experience, I'm not sure if that's across the board. It's pretty much the most experience I think I've had in a couple of ride-alongs that I've done has been like that. So like Matt said, getting your address out there right away. First things out of your mouth is your address. Let them know what's going on. Give them as much information as you can safely. And, you know, most important is don't hang that phone up. Stay on that phone as long as possible. Just have arrived at the home. You stay on that phone until the 911 operator allows you to get off the phone. Says, okay, we can part ways now. Other than that, you just leave it on. You leave it on. If you have to set it on the bed because you're going to go hide someplace, take it with you if you can. If not, leave that phone open and on. That's going to feed information, regardless of as little information as it is, but it will still feed information to the 911 to be able to help you out a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. Something else that I know, especially if you have kids at home, dealing with the doorbell, somebody knocking at the door. I don't know what it is, especially with kids, but man, they want to be the ones to run up and swing that door open, don't they? I mean, all the time. At least mine used to want to do that. Oh, everybody would run to the door. Well, if you are not expecting a package from UPS or the Postal Service, don't answer the door. You don't need the Girl Scout cookies. You don't need the Boy Scout popcorn. You'll see them in front of the grocery store anyway, so get them then. There's no reason to just throw your door open for anybody. There's no code of conduct, so to speak, that says you have to be polite and do that. You can talk to somebody perfectly fine through the door. If you can, maybe sidestep to a window if you can see who's out there, and then it's up to you. But I just don't like opening the door for people when I've had all the conversations I want to have with Jehovah's Witnesses and the guy that wants to sell me siding or roofing. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Is for whatever reason, in the day and age we live in, everybody seems to want to be very overly polite. They know you. If they're a friend, they're going to call. And the person banging on your door, it's probably not somebody you want to talk to in the first place. And if it's important, they're going to bang on the door longer. The one thing I wanted to bring up is, someone bangs on your door and maybe you ignore it. I don't know who this person is. I'm gonna just ignore it. Time to forget what's going on around you, because that may be an opportunity that they have someone else with them. That you bang on the door, no one comes to the door. Okay, they're gonna wait at the front door while their second person goes around to the back door and tries to get in the back door. So that's a time to be very vigilant and pay attention to what's going on and wait and see what they do. Are they going to leave? Are they going to walk away? Are they going to try to bug you some more? First house and bug them. Keep your eyes open. Keep your ears peeled. Keep alert as they occur.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Just because you're not going to answer the door doesn't mean that you shouldn't at least check everything out and see what's going on. When there's contact from the outside world, I mean, I know it sounds kind of silly to say it like that, but when you have somebody unexpectedly coming up to your home, at least still be aware of what's going on. Just like you said, don't ignore outside contact. Have a, I mean, it sounds kind of silly, but play the game in your head of if this, then that. Like if this, then what? If they keep knocking on the door, or if somebody starts walking around the other side of my house, what will I do then? Where are the kids at in the house? Am I alone? Whatever, right? There's nothing saying that you need to freak out, but you definitely should have steps in place and start thinking, if somebody does try to force their way into the house, now what? What's my next step, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of bring up when we're talking about home safety, but I'm a big advocate of carrying at home. Wish I could have thought ahead of time to actually print them off, but there's a lot of statistics of how much violence occurs. A lot of robberies occur in home. A lot of robberies occur in places that you normally wouldn't think to carry a gun. My philosophy has been since I started carrying is I wake up in the morning, my pants go on, my gun goes on. When I go home at the end of the night, my pants go off next to the bed, my gun goes in the cabinet right next to my bed. And that's the only time that happens for that reason. You get somebody banging on your door at 2 a.m, tries to break in the window. Do you have to run to your bedroom to your safe to get your gun out of it? Or are you prepared to deal with that situation right off the bat?
Yeah, we've talked about that before on the show. And, it's not always a comfortable way to live. I mean, let's just face that. But, it is a lot easier to have your gun on you than having it locked up in some kind of a safe or cabinet or between the sweaters in your closet, right? So
you have sweaters.
You know what I mean?
I'm talking about the sweater thing. I didn't know you had any sweaters. No sweaters.
You got sweater vests,
Oh man.
Yeah, look pretty fly in a sweater vest.
Fly for a white guy in a sweater vest. I see how it is.
Right. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying now.
No, I know I messed up. But storing your gun with all your sweater vests.
I mean, there's a video on YouTube you can look up where it's the middle of the day, or maybe I don't know, it's daylight from the video is all I can tell you. There's a mother at home with her daughter, and out of nowhere appears a giant man, and the mom is dumbfounded, and she doesn't know what to do other than stand there and get beaten to a pulp by this giant man. She didn't have time to run for a gun. She didn't have time to run for her child. And this man came back 3 or 4 times, or 2 or 3 times, I don't remember, but she almost died. It looked horrible. It was all caught on a nanny cam. And, this wasn't like, oh, that was in the bad part of town. Well, yeah, bad things happen in the bad part of town, but people that live in the bad part of town, they travel to the good side of town. That's where people are that have things on the good side of town. I mean, people on the bad side of town have stuff too, but you know what I'm saying? It's a lot easier to be able to run and scoop up your kids when you already have your gun on you. Then I've got to run, scoop up the kids, then grab my gun, or vice versa. Having it with you makes everything a lot easier. If you don't have it with you, then it's just a call you're going to have to make on your own. Nobody can make that call for you. With that, while we're talking about that, we can talk about how clearing your house. When you see it in the movies, people have the gun out in front of them, and they're like,
"Don't John Wick your house."
Right? Don't John Wick your house. If you're already in a place that's safe, like say, I don't know if you're in a first story, on a single level home, and all the bedrooms are together, and everybody's safe down that one hallway, then just stay there. If you're upstairs and everyone is upstairs that needs to be kept safe, then stay there. Don't go walking around the house. That's the surest way to get yourself dead. Yeah. Call 911, right? Call 911. Don't rack that shotgun, right? And think that they're going to go jumping out.
They just jump right out the window. You ride a shotgun and they leave right away.
Right.
No, they don't.
They don't. It doesn't work that way. It makes sense. It does. It makes total sense to rational people. But we're in a rational state of mind. You're not in a rational state of mind if you're looking for a fix, if you're on drugs, if you just want to hurt somebody, if you're just stealing things. It doesn't matter. If you come into a home knowing that people are there, your state of mind is not rational. I mean, it might be completely nefarious.
It could be silly too. I know I've heard a couple of friends of mine who has intoxicated neighbors that just came in the wrong house, and it's happened.
Absolutely,
and that goes into that identifying your target as well.
Right. That's where having a flashlight in your pocket and maybe one on your gun too is a good idea, because not everything that needs a light on it needs a gun on it. You could be doing everything right except forget that your finger is too close to the inside of that trigger guard, and you see somebody with that your gun mounted light, and you shoot too soon. That's, if you can get your flashlight on at first and then bring your gun into the situation. I'm not telling you that I'm a tactical master or anything like that, because I know that I'm not.
Matt, the tactical ninja.
Right. Mall ninja. I'll have you know. The bearded ninja.
Bearded ninja.
I'm not Chuck Norris either.
Bearded ninja.
But anyway, flashlights are a great idea. They don't have to be a surefire, streamlight, light, anything crazy. They just need to throw some light.
Yeah, that's all I gotta do.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a couple little goofy things that, it's just a light. They're cheap. Throw them on, use them. Get cheap ones. They run out of batteries. Replace them. If they don't work anymore, throw them away.
I know that at Home Depot, like right around this time of year, especially after Christmas, they have all that stuff they didn't sell. They've got those 3 and 4 and 5 packs of flashlights for, they end up being a couple dollars a piece. Get a few of those and leave them around the house. And if your kids start playing with them and lose them, then you're not out that much.
Oh well.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess come to the concept of clearing your house. You know, I don't believe, unless you are attempting to get to a loved one that is in another location of your home that you believe to be unsafe, I think clearing your house is really not a good idea. Let the professionals do that job. Now, for instance, if I am upstairs and my wife is downstairs in the kitchen and someone comes blowing through the door to go down to get my wife, and I'm going to do that with a firearm, especially if somebody comes crashing through my door. So there are situations that dictate that you have to do that, but it's important to know what type of situations those are. If you're essentially safe, then stay safe. Don't go putting yourself in a situation that's not important. Your TV, your MacBook, your iPad, your dog, unfortunately, is not worth the life of you. Of you getting hurt by doing that action is very high, regardless of how good of a mall ninja you actually are.
Right. Right. You know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, Delta Force trains for and SWAT teams are for, you know, clearing your house. Stay where you're safe. You can even
Delta Force SEAL Team 6.
Yeah, you can if you wanted to. I already called 911. The police are on their way. You've got about 5 minutes. Steal all the crap you want, and you'll be safe as long as you stay down there. If you come down here, there's a guy or a girl with a gun in the house, and we will defend ourselves. Stay away. You know, take everything you want. You know, if you go through the back door, you can run through the woods. Just leave us alone, right?
Just leave us alone.
There's nothing down here that's worth getting into a gunfight over. So,
I have a friend who's a farrier in, I think he's in like North Carolina.
You got to tell people what a farrier is. I mean, I know
a farrier is a person. Some people don't. Farrier is a person who trims animal hooves for goats and horses and such.
You mean they don't drive big boats on the water? Never mind. Sorry.
Maybe that, I don't know, but that would be considered a farrier. A farrier. Anyway, he's a phenomenal shot. And somewhere along the lines, we were making fun of him that he had to have been in Delta Force to shoot like he does. Well, somebody dubbed him the Delta Farrier for a while. And I just was thinking of the Mall Ninja, and Delta Farrier came to mind. So
nice.
I had to bring it up. Run out from the home and go outside for a little while and talk about outside safety. The first thing we're going to talk about is lighting up the outside of your house. And I have a cool saying when it comes to dealing with the outside of your home, and it's illumination and imagination. That's what it takes to safety the outside of your house. Excuse me. Lots of illumination. Light up weird corners, dark corners. If you have an inset entryway to your home, light up a little bit. Put motion lights on. And really important, you know, there doesn't have to be a lot of costs involved in that lighting routine. They don't want to get invested in lighting because they believe it has to be hardwired into the home. Well, today's day and age of technology, we have a lot of solar options available. There are quite a few lights that come up and around that have their own inbuilt solar panel, and you can mount them up without having to do any hard wiring into your house. And they're fairly inexpensive. They run anywhere from about $10 to $40, depending on how big of a light you want to get.
I've seen the ones you stick in the ground at like packs of at Home Depot for, I think they come out to $5 a piece. They work really well just to light up the front of your house. And it looks nice from the road, you know. But yeah, like you said, getting into all those corners, it doesn't have to look like a shopping mall parking lot, but you know, put some light on your house. Something else that, you know, maybe we should have talked about when we were talking about the inside of the house, but when it's nighttime and it's dark out and you have the lights on in your home, everybody out there can see in, but you can't see out. So keep that in mind as well. So draw some blinds, get some shades, things like that.
Yeah, cover your windows up.
Right, cover your windows up. Keep valuable things out of view from passersby.
Out of view. That's right. So that goes into that illumination and imagination. The next thing you want to do is go out to the road and walk, across the end of your road towards your house. And I want you to look at your house and see what you're seeing from the perspective of, I kind of want to steal that, or I'm a bad guy and I'm looking at your home. Can you look in there and go, wow, that big screen TV is right across the window from the wall, and I can see that plain as day. Can I see that there's a windows open, or is the door unlocked? Look at your home from the perspective of somebody trying to do something wrong, and see if you see things that would open up your eyes to where you need to make some changes.
Yeah. You're frozen. Your picture is frozen, I think.
Going okay?
Audio's going fine. Yeah, you're just. I pulled up YouTube so I could see if we have any questions. We have one. We'll get to in a moment from Ryan Hoffman.
All right.
Let's see. We talked about having keeping things out of view for people. There are people that just walk down the sidewalks and try front doors. They knock. They have a clipboard in their hands, and if no one answers, they're just trying front doors. And if you answer, they'll give you some harebrained half a sales pitch that you're not going to buy anyway. So
selling carpet cleaner today.
Keep an eye on that. Yeah, right. It's a terrible work too, man. I mean, when I was young, I did cold sales door to door like that just because I had nothing going. It's horrible, terrible work.
Not fun. Nobody wants to do that.
But don't leave but nobody wants to do that. Something else, don't leave identifying objects out in your yard, or don't put your last name on your mailbox. Don't have Williams family established in whatever. You don't need that stuff. Don't do too much to draw undue attention.
Yeah, when you use your names that you can use out there, you tend to allow people information that they don't need. And people who are intelligent, a criminal that's intelligent will use that information for their advantage, for sure. And you instantly become more comfortable with the person talking to you if they know your last name. There's some good psychological stuff that goes beyond that. It's like letting your kids run around with their last name on the back of their T-shirt. It's not the best idea because they instantly begin to feel more comfortable if somebody goes, hey, Mr. Williams, come over here for a second. Well, you instantly go, oh, I must know this person. They know my last name. So kind of keep that decorating the outside of your house. One of the other ideas is to make sure that the stuff that you have out in your yard is something that is an important aspect to remember. Do you have rocks by your windows? Do you have tools out in your yard that can be used to break into your house? Is there a ladder behind your garage that can access the second story? One of the things I've done in the past is I put a bike lock on my ladder. I didn't have the ability to store my ladder inside, so I just put it behind the barn as far as I could get it, and then put a bike latch on it, and a bike latched it to the side of one of my fence posts. Made it harder to get off, but not impossible. If somebody really wanted to do it, they could. But it's just something to slow them down if needed.
Well, right. I mean, you could do everything. You could do everything right. You could have no windows at all in your home, and somebody can still get in if they want to. This is all we're talking about, things that will just slow people down. This isn't going to stop somebody who really wants to get inside. If they're dedicated to the effort, it doesn't matter what you do. So yeah, not leaving things outside to help people get in your house. But you got a giant sliding glass door and you got potted plants. Well, all somebody has to do is pick that up and throw it through your sliding glass door. I mean, you're going to have plenty of notice with that much noise.
Absolutely.
We have just a couple minutes here. We're going to wrap this up, but let's see. We have a question here from Ryan, and it is, what are your go-to home defense tools? I should clarify, not asking about preferred weapons. Okay, cool. Ryan, Ryan. I've known Ryan for a long time. He's a good dude. You want to go ahead and take that first, Alex, or do you want me to?
I mean, the two tools I use for home defense primarily is a really good flashlight and my handgun. And those are my two favorite. If given the option, I live out in the country, so I'm not too afraid of penetrating into a neighbor's house, and so my AR is usually pretty close by as well. That's about it as far as any sort of tools that I would use for home defense. I know that you can buy some things in the market like hallway foggers, like maces that you can crack like a grenade and toss into a hall. That will fog them if you're looking for a means to really make somebody's day miserable, but it's not a firearm. That's one of the methods you can use. But I personally don't. I go right for a flashlight and my handgun.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's, for me, flashlight, handgun. If I didn't have a gun, or you don't have a gun yet, I would definitely say get a giant can of pepper spray, bear, whatever you can use, whatever's legal in your area, and get everybody safe that you can. Tell them all to stay in the rooms, and then fill that hallway full of that stuff. You might have to climb out windows to get out of the house, but it'd be totally worth it. But yeah, those are, you know.
I think Fox OC spray makes like a 10-ounce can or something like that of mist, and it would clear a hallway very easily.
Yeah,
that stuff is pretty nasty stuff, especially in a mist. And 10 ounces is a heck of a lot of OC to dump into a room. That's
a ton. That's gonna mess your house up for a minute. But hey, totally worth it if it keeps somebody out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I got, man.
Oh, the only other thing I wanted to go into just briefly, we've got a few minutes left here, is the car. One of the things that people overlook a lot is the identifying features that you put on the back of your vehicle. So looking at the back of the majority of vehicles in the United States right now, I can tell you who's at home, mom, dad, how many kids you have, how many dogs and cats that you have, by the silly little stick figures that are plastered on the back of your house. I can also tell if you ride a bike, if you go for swim matches, if you like Apple over Google. All that information seems to be really readily available on the back of people's vehicles. For whatever reason, in America, we like to advertise what we like. I'm guilty of it. I do it with my laptops. I put stickers all over those. But the car is something that everybody can see. And if you're putting out there that you have, a MacBook, or buy the little Apple stickers, or you got Daniel Defense rifles, or SIG or Glock,
protected by
awesome
Glock
stuff, but protected by Glock, right. Necessarily gonna scare somebody away as much as let them know that there's something there to steal. So keep that in mind. That information isn't necessary. Intelligent person, but intelligent criminal can read the back of those stickers like a book and tell you exactly what's going on in your house, what kind of person you are, where you eat, where you drive, and if you're a marathon runner or not. So keep that in mind when you're deciding to put stickers in the back of your vehicle.
Right. The marathon one. Yeah, it's funny. I need one that says 0.0.
Yeah. Does running to the bathroom count? 0.
So you just put 20 feet, not miles.
Man, you did a 20 mile? Did you do an Ironman? No, that's 20 feet.
No, bathroom's that far from my recliner.
Right.
All right.
Oh, that pretty much ties it up for us today. We will be back for the next one. We got some exciting stuff coming up, guys. We've got a lot of people we've been talking to. There's some cool things going on. We're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff. So bear with us here while we get all this stuff sorted out, and we're going to start doing some pretty neat things. So hold on and come out for the next show and stick with us, because we got some cool stuff in mind.
Yeah, hit your subscribe button. Find us on social media. We need to start an Instagram page. We haven't done that yet, but we've got Facebook. So like us there, follow us there. and hit subscribe on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Have a great night.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.